It contributes to greenhouse gases. It also may not be healthy for the people in the OR. 4 to 8% of a hospital's greenhouse gases are contributed by the operating room and the ICU. When you go to intravenous therapy, it has a lot of advantages. Most of it is, short cases, post-operative nausea and vomiting is usually reduced. Those are all, benefits, because when you look at the business in the OR, getting the patient extubated while they're in the OR and onto PACU is obviously an advantage. It helps with the assembly line and moving those cases through. So they recommend that you use a specifically designed TIVA set. What most people are doing now are putting together stopcocks, extension sets, manifolds. That's what they're doing now. And everybody will do it differently. So there's little or no standardization in how any anesthesia provider would give TIVA. We do know that when you go to a smaller inner diameter tubing, that your delivery is more accurate, and the lower or closer to the patient that drug comes in to the mainline IV, the better, because then it won't be as diluted in the mainline IV. And these are what we call short-acting drugs. So you'll hear the terms quick onset, quick offset. That means their action is rapid, but it's also a short half-life. So it's used usually with a syringe pump. I would say 90% of the time with a syringe pump. They used to just hand bolus it, but it's much, much better to have the drugs infused on a syringe pump. That gives them the ability to deliver drug continuously if they need to, bolus only, or continuous plus bolus, somewhat like PCA. We're trying to make this easy to use and promote standardization. Again, the smaller bore tubing makes it more accurate because the drug isn't diluted way up the line. And some of these drugs are lipid-based, certainly propofol is, and you'll hear propofol 99% of the time is the predominant drug, with an opioid or other drugs like fentanyl, remifentanil, ketamine. There are a number of new drugs coming out that are used in combination. So most of the time we're going to see 2 mini bore sets. Sometimes they might be able to attach a 3rd mini bore set to this Y site. And again, that they would be able to infuse the drugs as reasonably close to the patient's venous access as possible. We're reducing drug waste with the mini bore. We're also reducing packaging waste because the anesthesia provider doesn't have to go running around looking for stopcocks and extension sets. What if there's a back order? It just really kind of is a hodgepodge of different things. We want to consider intravenous techniques instead of volatile gases. TIVA may reduce clinician exposure as well as reducing greenhouse gases. Questions?
There's a question in the chat box.
Hey, Tom, this is Wayne Miracle. Early on, you said they recommend the use of a TIVA. Who is they?
Well, that first comes from the Europeans, which are way ahead of us on TIVA. They've been doing TIVA and something more advanced called TCI, which is total controlled infusion. We don't do that formally here, but it's like their ASA. The anesthesiologists, have gotten together and said, this is what we need to use. We need to use a TIVA set. And and that's recommended for all the reasons that we're talking about, you know, mini bore, getting it closer to the patient, standardizing. So I'll go back and reference it, but right now that language comes from Europe, but the ASA is beginning to adopt that same verbiage.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see. Alrighty, so currently, are you seeing the literature?
Yes.
Okay, I just got to figure out how to switch back here.
Do you have to prime this whole thing?
You would prime the mainline set first, obviously. It's just really like a gravity set. And then you can prime with a flush or prime with the drug. It just depends on what you know they want to do, which first. Let's see here.
Can you make sure that you look in the chat too? Folks are putting questions in the chat box.
Okay.
Thank you.
And let me just get back to that. One moment. Somehow I'm not able to get back to my screen. One moment. Well, I'm having difficulty getting back to my video screen.
How deep of anesthesia are we delivering here?
It is considered general anesthesia. So it is general anesthesia. It's depending on the body weight of the patient and how much drug is given and combination of drugs. But there are, you know, basically propofol. Then you have an opioid, and you may have other amnesics that are given. In some practices, University of Utah, almost half of the cases are now given by TIVA. TIVA is popular in orthopedic and spine, where you can bring the patient back out of deep anesthesia to where they're not aware, but they can respond. And that's important in spine and neurosurgery because they may have to respond. They're doing a craniotomy, they're doing other procedures on the brain or the spine, and they want to be sure that they're not injuring those nerves. So spine, orthopedics, and children, especially in short procedures, radiologic, painful things like bone marrow, biopsies. So it's becoming accepted. It's also, propofol is a generic drug now, so that it's not cost prohibitive, and the cost of TIVA is actually very inexpensive.
So there's two questions on here. One says, what percentage of the OR cases are being done with TIVA right now? And is this popular in ASCs?
Yes, especially in ASCs. They're going to be using propofol alone. If you go into an ASC that also has endoscopy, so for colonoscopies and procedures like that, nasal surgery, plastics, we're getting more and more, orthopedic surgery centers. So ASCs are certainly a target. My advice would be orthopedic anesthesia, orthopedic surgery centers, ambulatory surgery centers, and children's hospitals would be the places to go.
And then there's another question that says, what type of procedures, I think you answered this already, but I'm gonna read it anyways. Hang on. What type of procedures do they use TIVA predominantly for? I think
Yeah, again, TIVA is used for surgeries that are 15 minutes to 2 hours, orthopedic, spine, neuro, and then in children, there's something called malignant hypothermia, which is a response to a drug called succinylcholine. And this may be, a 5-year-old child's first experience with general anesthesia. And if I give succinylcholine and I don't know this patient has a predisposition to malignant hypothermia, which basically, when you give that drug, the patient starts to, their body temperature rises uncontrollably. You have to use a very, very expensive series of vials of a drug called dantrolene to reverse malignant hypothermia. If you don't reverse it soon, the patient basically burns up on the table and dies. So MH, or malignant hypothermia, there's a genetic marker for that. They can be tested for MH, but if this is an emergency surgery, you don't have time to do that, and you don't know. So TIVA is becoming more popular because it's not a patented drug anymore. Combinations are variable. Sometimes they'll use inhalation anesthesia with this, which is therefore then not truly total intravenous anesthesia. There's just a wealth of literature on the market. I mean, you search this. We're really just trying to come in and not be clinical experts, but just to say, we have an item that's convenient, cost effective, standardizes the TIVA procedures. Everybody's going to be on the same page. And we also have a 60 drop and a 20 drop drip chamber. So now we have the ability to address those pediatric cases. So one of the objections from a children's hospital was, gee, we've got patients that are 200 pounds and patients that are 50 pounds. I need a pediatric drip chamber. So we do have both sets, 60 drop per ml drip chamber and the 20 drop per ml drip chamber.
There's another question that says, are there competitors in this space? If so, who are they?
The biggest competitors are would be B. Braun, but again, B. Braun and BD, but again, they're not marketing the products they have in Europe here in the United States yet. So when you look at international companies, they have similar sets. They're just not bringing them to the US for some reason. So again, just to review, what are they using now? They're putting together extension sets, mini bore tubing, stopcocks, and that will vary from practitioner to practitioner. You are alone right now in the space as far as a 510K set for both pediatric and for adult. I developed the first set for Codan, but they don't really promote this set at all. One of the problems again was when you went into an account, you needed to be able to do both the adult with a 20 drop and pediatrics with the 60 drop. Any other questions?
Tom,
Go ahead.
I can see, you know, the TIVA set that's on the screen here, and I can see the one that's, you know, that you've got laying on the table.
Mhm.
Can you, and I also have the document that Bell Medical has created. You know, and that one I can see better than anything, to be honest with you. So can you start from like the universal spike and kind of work your way down to the clear mini bores and kind of go like item by item? And I mean, I think everyone understands the spike here. You're spiking the bag with that. But when you start getting down to these Y connectors, and why would these Y connectors be there? And
Okay. Well, we have a checked valve, which is going to help prevent drug from migrating up the line. There's an upper Y site, which is pretty much standard. It is basically a 2Y set with a roller clamp. And then we get down to a lower Y site, which we may move a little bit lower because in the case they have to do 3 drugs, they would add a mini bore here. But we're not going to move that until we exhaust all of our inventory of the current set. Then you come down to basically a trifurcated piece here, which is going to introduce the main line, which is your saline or dextrose, obviously a neutral solution. And then we have 2 mini bores. One has got a green stripe and one is clear. The one that is clear is a little bit larger bore. And this one we would use with propofol because propofol obviously has a coloration of, you know, the milk of amnesia. And you see that that is 2 milliliters, dead space. On the green stripe, go ahead.
it's 2 milliliters prime in volume.
Correct.
Okay, because when I look at the document for Bell Medical, it has 3 milliliters.
Okay,
yeah. And what is the green mini bore?
That is smaller. That is 0.85 ml.
Okay, because again, on this document, it says 1.2.
Hey, Wayne, on the demo, it says what it is on each tubing. It's
Yeah,
gotta-
on the product that I have, it says that on the tubing, but not on the document that I'm looking at here.
I got you. Oh, gotcha. Okay, cool.
All right, I'll look into that. I see what you mean. On the literature, you've got 1.2 and 3 mil, and then we've got a different mark on the TIVA. I will check that. Thank you.
Where's this set made at?
Non-PVC or non-DEHP PVC.
Where is it made at? In the United States, in China, in Africa? Where is it made?
It is made in China for Healthline in Salt Lake City.
Hey, Tom, this is David. Real quick, it looks like we're down to about 3 or 4 minutes tops in this meeting before it ends. So just want to let you know, if anybody has any further questions after this ends, you can reach out to Tom directly.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really just a matter of asking who the TIVA guru is, kind of like regional anesthesia. That's the first question to ask is, who is the anesthesia provider that's most proficient in TIVA, and they'll tell you. And then to present a TIVA set, you know, it's based on standardization. Everybody can, you know, follow along, and that you know, anesthesiologist who is really into TIVA will like the set and be able to have his colleagues adopt using more and more TIVA.
Is this product on any GPOs? Should that be a question we're asking?
No, it's not. It's almost like a custom set. Again, there's no need for it because nobody else really is marketing a TIVA set. They're marketing parts and pieces, but this is really the first being marketed as TIVA for both adult and pediatric.
Tom, do you know when they build their set from parts and pieces, basically how much do they have invested in that in the actual dollar?
You know, again, that's something we should ask because it is so variable. You know, manifolds are probably the most expensive way to go. A lot of the manufacturers are adding needleless connectors to those manifolds that used to just be open stopcocks. So the price of product is certainly increasing.
Is Bell Medical exclusive with this product?
Right now we have just a handful of distributors, but I think you're the largest group, certainly.
Are all states open?
Yes.
It'd be helpful if we knew where the competition in what states, just so we know going in.
Alrighty, I will talk to Emilio about that. Any other questions?
Real quick, everybody, I saw a couple of the comments, so I can send Tom's contact information or email address to you guys, but he should be copied on the Zoom invite as well. So
yeah, again, you also have access to the Atlanta Biomedical syringe pump, correct?
that is correct.
Yeah,
that is correct.
That'll go right along with that. Obviously, you know, promote that with it. That creates a system, especially in the ambulatory surgery centers.
Absolutely. I was actually just texting with Greg Boyden, my Pittsburgh rep, who has our demo ABC pump, and I said this could be perfect to show the doctor who's looking at that. So.
Absolutely, it's a system.
How does it work with the Braun pumps?
No problem. I mean, it's just Lurlock, so it you know, it's agnostic as far as what syringe pump, but you know, the ABC pump is a good little pump nobody knows about, and it's ideal for surgery centers. Does have a drug library. Unfortunately, it's not Wi-Fi connected, but in those surgery centers, endoscopy where they're giving propofol alone, an anesthesia provider can save a lot of time versus the surgeon giving our narcotic and Versed. Then your colonoscopy patient doesn't wake up so fast, and you lose $1,300 every 20 minutes. You can't clear your PACU.
Tom, real quick, are you medsurgereps@yahoo.com?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, well, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Tom. And like I said, everybody, I'll send out an email with Tom's email address, and feel free